Yo, what up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy RotoBeast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy. We're here to present you our NBA morning shoot-around for Friday, July 31st. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This way you can watch all of our NBA, MLB, and NFL videos. And if you haven't came and checked out our website here at DFSCheatSheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily FanDuel and DraftKings cash lineups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure to come check out the site here at DFSCheatSheet.com. So, hey, how you doing out there, Jeremy?
What's up, man? Just talking about NBA. NBA is back. Tomorrow we get NHL back. I mean, we're back in it.
It's an exciting time for people like us that are diehard sports fans that love sports. Man, we've been basically waiting for this day for the past 4 or 5 months where we're getting everything rolling back. MLB started last week. NBA started last night. Do not get me started on NBA last night. Man, we were riding in first place in all tournaments for literally half of the night. 1 minute left in the game. Paul George hits a little bullshit three-pointer, kicked us out. We ended up being anywhere from 7th to 15th place in all tournaments. Still was a very, very profitable night for us. I will say that. But, hey, man, it sucks when you're right there all night in takedown position. One shot in the NBA changed everything. But, hey, man, overall, I'm ready to get back at it today. You know I love NBA. And, yeah, man, I'm ready to talk some basketball.
This basketball is going to be a bit of a headache, man, and especially over on FanDuel where you can't late swap, right? So if you just look at today's slate, I mean, you can see 2:30 Eastern time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. That's the first game. So we're fresh into it right now. But the thing that we don't have is that, yeah, they're in a bubble. Yeah, they shouldn't be many injuries. The news should be really fast and current, but there's a long time between game 1 and game 6. And if you got guys in game 6 that are game time decisions, there's going to be some roster headaches to make because of the fact there's no late swap on FanDuel. DraftKings is a little bit different story, I guess. But at the same time, we don't know the exact protocols and how those are going to affect everybody coming into the same, because they're only playing on one floor, if I understand it correctly. So, there's a bunch of different practice floors, but they're only playing really one arena, for lack of a better term. But, I mean, you don't know if somebody in the Houston game tests positive for COVID and doesn't play tonight, and you've got them locked in on FanDuel. It's just basketball is going to be rough. I know we're all excited it's back, but I just want everybody to exercise caution, and that is going to be a big part of the strategy with basketball, is knowing that anybody could test positive at any given time. We don't know when they're going to be testing people moving in and out of the arena. Hey, I texted you last night because I thought it was just crazy. I'm not trying to make this any type of a statement, but there's a lot of things that don't make sense with Corona. I've been kind of vocal about it on our channel for a while, right? But how can you be all up in somebody's grill, right? So you test, you clear the test, you get to go in and play, and you could be all up in somebody's grill. You can get, somebody's ass all up in you, backing you down, whatever. And then you got to go to the bench and sit 6 feet apart. I just don't get that part, man. I don't get it. You don't need a mask on the floor. You don't, everybody's in a bubble, but then, hey, wait. That's just a statement. It's just like political correctness, in my opinion, because they're in a bubble, so they're not worried about social distancing. I mean, Lou Williams is going to get wings from Magic City, right? So it's just crazy.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing just like you, same thing as me, is I'm still trying to get used to what's going on in the NBA, how they're going about it, etc. One thing I will say is I don't know if there's necessarily just one floor that they're playing on. Reason I say that is, you look
at 2 games at 4. Yeah,
2 games at 4. There's a game at 5. There's a game at 6. So they overlap right there. So today will be kind of, we'll figure everything out today as far as how it's gonna go and whatnot. But yeah, man, like I said, nonetheless, I'm still excited for today, just to be able to sit down, relax, watch some basketball at home. Today's gonna be a good day for sure. So you ready to talk some basketball today?
Okay, so I just to clarify, there's three arenas, quote unquote arenas, that they're playing in inside this bubble.
Got you. So yeah, let's go, man. I'm ready to talk some basketball. So first game we're gonna go with the Orlando Magic going into not even going into, but the Orlando Magic facing Brooklyn.
Going into the bubble.
Yeah, going into the bubble. Brooklyn is the home team for today's game.
So we're sticking with our old flow. I'll take the visiting and you take the home team, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So the first guy, I got to kind of like rattle my brain a little bit to go back and remember, oh, yeah, we streamlined centers against Brooklyn, and let's get right back to it with Vucevic. This is a very fair price tag for Vucevic, in my opinion, at 8,300 going against the Brooklyn Nets, who, I mean, their only real big guy is Jared Allen. Jared Allen has had a really good season before we had the COVID break, right? But it's Jared Allen. It's the Knicks. They don't defend the center position well. You have to like Vucevic, very talented skill guy. I'm also liking the value of DJ Augustine at 4,300 here. I mean, the price tags, have you noticed this as well? Like, I mean, last night was opening night, and okay, right? The pricing's the pricing. It's a 2-game slate. On any night, a 2-game slate, the pricing gets adjusted for ownership because it's only a 2-game slate. But you look at baseball, right? We're doing baseball every single day. Do the prices on FanDuel for baseball and NBA look like super low to you?
Yeah, they're a very fair price right now. Definitely.
You think they're like too fair price though, right? Like, I mean, it's super cheap.
Right. Yeah, no,
So,
I agree with you.
To me, in this game, I mean, I'm going to keep it simple. If Aaron Gordon is going to play, this is a game time decision at 6,800. I think people will stay off Aaron Gordon because he's $6,800, and everybody, you never know what you're going to get with Aaron Gordon. But I like this price tag of and I like the fact that it'll keep people away in a very favorable matchup against Brooklyn as far as their front court goes. I think Vucevic and Aaron Gordon are a nice little 2-man stack to roll out. So those are the two guys that I'm looking at. Evan Fournier at 5,300 doesn't excite me. The only other guy I'd consider here, I like the price tag of Augustine, but more than that, I like James Ennis at 3,600. If he's going to start at 3,600, we just saw last night a real chalky play in JaMychal Green for the Clippers because he was going to play the center spot at almost the minimum value as well. So he put up 20 fantasy points at that price tag. James Ennis, we know, is a guy who can knock down the three. So if he's going to start, if he gets confirmed in that starting lineup, I like James Ennis, Aaron Gordon, and Vucevic is a little Orlando stack.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. So, I mean, let's be realistic about it with the Nets. The Nets are probably got hit harder than anybody else with the coronavirus, with people opting out, stuff like that. So, yeah, man, the Nets are kind of all over the place right now. I don't really know how the minutes are necessarily going to go compared to, you're looking at the Magic that they basically have the regular squad they've had all year. So you kind of know the rotation and who's going to play what minutes. With the Nets, they got so many new guys, it's tough. One thing that I will say, a guy that I do like, I don't, we talk about cheap price tags, and this guy was actually priced right, maybe a little bit overpriced. Karis LeVert at 8,200, but I think that the pricing went that way just because he's their best player. He's their most like most consistent player that they have right now with everybody else opting out. He's basically the one guy, the stud that they have that stayed. So as much as I think that Karis LeVert does give us upside right here, I think he strictly is a GPP play just because the price tag is way up there. Now, if we're going to get a Karis LeVert that's going to play 38 minutes, that kind of minutes, then it's a different story. But I got to kind of wait and see approach with that. Jared Allen at 6,700 going against Vucevic, who's going to, Vucevic is a great offensive player, not necessarily the best defensive player. I think that you could possibly look at Jared Allen as GPP. The one guy that I'm actually looking at two guys. I like Joe Harris at 5,300. I think he's a very, very fair price tag. He's a guy that's going to get a ton of minutes right there, that he's going to get basically all the minutes that he can handle. And the guy gives us a little bit of upside. I think you could look at him. And lastly, I'm going to go with the cheaper guy in Kurukas. Kurukas, how you say it? Kurukas?
No, you got it's Kurukas.
Kurukas, okay. Yeah, I think he's a guy at 4,300 that they've shown in the past that they do like. And if he's going to get some run, he's a big dude that he can shoot the ball a little bit as well. I think he gives us some fantasy upside right there at that 4,300 price tag. I like him. And they're coming off the bench. They do got a couple guys that are coming off the bench. I just got to kind of wait and see the minutes. But, you can look at a guy like Tyler Johnson. He should get plenty of run at 4,100. You can look at Garrett Temple at 4,500. Should get plenty of minutes. I think that those are the two guys I'm really going to look at off the bench. And I'm just going to kind of take a wait and see approach with Brooklyn because they just have too many new pieces out there. So definitely, like I said, they're more of a GPP team for me today. Moving on, next game we're going to talk about, we got Memphis going into Portland to face the Trailblazers. Real quick for you to jump into Memphis side, I think it was so funny because you told me we were on the phone and you're like, hey, man, look at no, I'm sorry. It wasn't you. It was my son. My son was like, hey, Dad, I think I see Lillard and McCollum and Carmelo right there. And I'm like, what do you mean? And showing up, sure enough, later in the day, they showed him again. And it's cool in the bubble that you're allowed to go watch the other teams' games if you're not playing. Those dudes were out there checking out the Lakers and Clippers game. Everybody wanted to watch that game, and I think that was pretty cool that they are allowed to do that for sure. So go ahead and get us started with the Memphis side of things, bro.
I thought there'd be more. I thought there'd be more guys. You know what I mean? I mean, what are they doing? They're not doing anything.
They're sitting in a hotel room, so why not go watch some games? You know, you love basketball.
Especially last night when there's just 2 games and one's a showcase game like that. You know what I'm saying?
And one thing too I want to say is, hey, man, last night there was 2 really good games. Even that New Orleans game, it was a really good game. I was a little bit disappointed in New Orleans. The fact that they took out Zion to start the fourth quarter at only 15 minutes, and it was crunch time. It was down 1, up 1, down 1. I thought they would at least put him in for the last 4 minutes of the game. I mean, if he already played 15 minutes, what's an extra 4 minutes in a game that they're fighting for a playoff spot? Why would you not play him, an extra 4 minutes and give yourself an opportunity right there? What do you think about that real quick?
You're trying to make the playoffs, right? That's why you're there.
Exactly. Why would you not? What's an extra 4 minutes when the guy just said the night before on the press conference, like, bro, I feel good. I could play the whole game if I had to. You know what I mean?
Like, I thought that he was in the game until there was about 1:30 left. And
no,
they checked him out.
No, he came out. He came out the very beginning of the fourth. So I thought he was going to probably sit half of the fourth, and then come in with 5 minutes left and finish the game in a very tight game. Never came back in.
Yeah, I mean, you're there for a reason, and the problem that I have with it, and here's the COVID effect, right? If you're quote unquote asking guys to go into a bubble, and you're asking them to go into a bubble because of the fact that there's health risks involved, well, that's all. I mean, what's more important than a health risk like that, right? I mean, we're not talking about, hey, it's you could get a little extra run on your legs and we get a little less time out of you. I mean, you're asking a guy to go into a bubble, and just the fact that they're there, to me, I don't know why we're being so worried about some other ancillary things. If COVID's this serious deal, we're in a bubble, we're asking guys to take health risks. They're taking the biggest risk of all by just being there. So I don't know why you would say we've got to restrict his minutes. We've got the dude's there in the midst of a pandemic, and he's trying to play basketball to make the playoffs. I don't know what other risks. What higher risk a guy could take, right? I mean, it just doesn't, to me, that's why it doesn't make any sense.
Just it's like, it's not like he's hurt. It's not like he was coming off an injury or something like that. It's nothing like that. They said his minutes were limited due to cardio. They need to get his cardio up. Well, how do you get your cardio up? By running. You know what I mean?
And the thing is, this just as well as I do, right? I mean, there's 2 different types of shape. For me, there's guys that get in shape and then they have to get in football shape. And for you, there's guys who are in shape and then they have to get in basketball shape. And it's completely different. You only get in basketball or football shape by actually playing in a game type environment. You're not going to get in cardio shape by hitting the treadmill. It's not the same thing.
I'm with you. And like you said, I think that they're out of the playoff, the final playoff spot by like 1 or 2 games. With only 13 games left, like every single damn game matters. Like I just didn't get it. It really pissed me off, to be honest with you. And it's not even like, obviously, I'm a Lakers fan and stuff like that. But just as a basketball fan in general, 4 minutes left in the game, 1 point game. You got to have your best player on the floor. 4 minutes is not going to kill the guy, and that's what it comes down to. But sorry to get off track, but it just didn't make sense to me at all. But yeah, let's get back to this Memphis and Portland game. Get us started with that Memphis side of things.
And you can see right from jump, I've got up Jonas Valanciunas. You can see how he closed out the previous 2 games before we had the break, the pandemic break. 59.4 against Atlanta and 47.2 against Orlando, and 27 minutes in a scrimmage. You can see that the guy went almost nuts as well. So this Memphis team, if they're going to make the playoffs, you need Jonas Valanciunas to be that pick and roll guy. You need him to be the guy that does all of the dirty things. The thing about Memphis is they've got Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson, and John Morant in the starting lineup, and that's probably your closeout lineup as well in a game, right? So in a game like this, I know you don't like to take a big guy against another skilled big guy, but I think that this game right here, where you've got a young team, when you need a basket, Valanciunas is a guy you can give it to down the block, and he can get you a hoop or get you an and one opportunity. So I think with where we're at in the season and how young this Memphis team is, the one guy that they know in crunch time, if we need a bucket, we can go down the block to Valanciunas, and he's also going to get rebounds. He's also going to get you the putback, etc. The one thing about Nurkic in this matchup is I think Valanciunas is a smarter player than Nurkic. Nurkic, of the two guys, is probably the more skilled guy. But Nurkic is the guy who's going to get you in more trouble, foul trouble, right? Valanciunas is a smarter player. So I love Valanciunas' matchup. Jaren Jackson's too cheap at 4,700. Complete mismatch, in my opinion, with Carmelo Anthony playing the 5. Yeah, Melo is still Melo and get you buckets, but he's old. He's got old legs, and he's quite a bit slower than he used to be. And a more athletic Jaren Jackson who can get to the rack, I think, is a mismatch for Carmelo Anthony playing that 4 spot. So, Morant, it goes without saying, but Valanciunas and Jaren Jackson I like a lot. And I think it's a very fair price tag for Jaren Jackson at 4,700.
Yeah, one thing I will say, I just want to just correct you, is I actually think that today the Carmelo's going to go back to the 3 just because they do got Zach Collins back. He started earlier in the year.
Even better. Better.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm with you. Hey, even more of a blow-by opportunity for you. I'm with you right there. Another thing I do want to add real quick is Valanciunas. He has the second highest usage rate on the team, just right behind John Morant at 29.5%. So I think that is a good call. And you got Nurkic, who's coming back from an injury. He may be, especially some type of leg injury. He may be a little step behind. He hasn't got no real run. He's not going to necessarily. He's probably going to play 20 minutes. I think when Nurkic back, more than anything, it's just going to hurt Whiteside. Whiteside's a guy that was killing it this year, playing very, very well. Now you got Nurkic back. Whiteside's going to go back to the bench. I'm really interested to see how it goes with those two guys and their minutes. But I'm probably not really going to roster neither one of them too much today because at the end of the day, they are going to basically split minutes. The 3 guys I do like for Portland.
Hey, bro. Not to cut you off, but have you seen Nurkic?
I haven't seen him.
I mean, there's some guys, I talked about it with baseball, but there's some guys who took complete advantage of this break. Nurkic is one of them, man. This dude he doesn't look like the rail he was last year, that's for sure. I mean, he looks like he put on like maybe 10 or 12 pounds of beef.
Yeah, but like I said, no, I get you. I get you. But at the same time, Whiteside, he's been playing very well all year. He's not going to just get benched. You know what I mean?
No, but that I think that you could see a situation where they both play about 24 minutes.
Bro, if it was me personally, if I was the coach, me personally, bro, I'm playing Whiteside and I'm playing Nurkic together with 3 shooters and Carmelo, McCollum and Lillard, bro. I mean, that's how I'm doing. I'm getting offensive rebounds. I'm giving it to my offensive players. I don't know.
But then, I mean, in certain, I think that works in certain games against certain teams. But the problem with that is like that's the model that you and I love because of the fact that you look at Pau Gasol and what Pau Gasol had next to him and Andrew Bynum when the Lakers won titles, right? You had 2 big men and then you had 3 ballers on the floor with them, right? But the NBA's changed, and so if in that situation, if you had Mo Bamba on this team all day long because Mo Bamba can defend anybody who's going to play the 4. Right. He's that athletic, right? But I don't know about these 2 guys.
Yeah.
The problem they have, bro, is would you agree that Nurkic and Whiteside both are prone to foul trouble? Like they both get in foul trouble.
Yeah, for sure. And then, but the thing is Nurkic could shoot a little bit. You know what I mean? So I mean, you could play him more kind of as a stretch 4 and just put Whiteside strictly on the block. I don't know. It's just something that you could play with, but it's a good option to have is what it comes down to. You got 2 stud big men, and then you got some shooters to spread out the floor. But yeah, so my main guys that I'm really looking at, I'm looking at the 2 scorers. I just talked about it. You got Lillard at 8,900. Very fair price tag. You got McCollum, 7,400, very fair price tag. And you got Carmelo, 5,000, very, very fair price tag. I got all these guys currently projected between 5 and 6x, and they all give us some upside. So for me, I'm just really looking at those 3 scores. And just like we talked about the Pelicans. The Pelicans are like 1 or 2 games out of that final spot. The Trailblazers are in the same situation. They're right there on the bubble. Trailblazers have a streak of like 5-6 years straight of making it to the playoffs. So they got a lot on the line, and I expect them to come out, and I expect them to definitely win this game going against a young Memphis team for sure. But yeah, man, I think this will be a pretty fun game. I'm excited to watch this one. Moving on, next game we're going to talk about, we got Phoenix going into Washington to face the Wizards.
Yeah, I like a lot of the pieces here in this game. I mean, I would stack all three guys in DeAndre Ayton, Ricky Rubio, and Devin Booker. I love the price tag of DeAndre Ayton and Ricky Rubio. Devin Booker, to me, is a little bit expensive for what he's been doing. And if you want Ricky Rubio to have a good game, you need Devin Booker to take a little bit of a backseat in the assist category. But in this type of a matchup, the one thing we know about the Washington Wizards is before the pandemic hit, before we took this break, load up because they play absolutely zero defense, and it was a shootout every single night. You can see here by the over-under, it's 223. Phoenix is -7, but I think a lot of points get scored in this game. The only thing that I worry about is Washington deep enough to not get blown out, to not get the doors blown off them, because I don't know on this Washington team outside of Shabazz Napier, and I love Ryu Hachimura, but he's not Bradley Beal, man. These two guys are not John Wall, Bradley Beal. So I just wonder if there's enough, but I do like that three-man stack a ton with Ayton, Rubio, and Devin Booker. I think DeAndre Ayton is the best center play on the slate. It's against Thomas Bryant. If Thomas Bryant's to get in foul trouble, there's not a real threat to come in and defend DeAndre Ayton off the bench. This is a dominate smash spot for DeAndre Ayton. And then, stacking him up with Ricky Rubio and Devin Booker, I like that a lot.
Yeah, no, I gotta agree with you 150%. I love Phoenix today. Going against a Washington team that doesn't play no defense. It's like, and we've seen it all year. It's been a trend with them. If I'm gonna look at anybody on Washington, I think that there's probably three guys that we can look at. I like Thomas Bryant. Thomas Bryant he's a points per minute monster. It's just all about being in foul trouble. If he can stay out of foul trouble, I think this is a spot that Thomas Bryant could definitely have a really, really good game. I think he gives us upside at this 5,300 price tag. There are a couple other guys I'm gonna look at. Shabazz Napier, a 6,200. He took over that starting role. The guy was getting you 5 to 6x night in and night out. He's one of those guys that we've played in the years past when he was with the Nets, when he was with the Timberwolves. Anytime he got the opportunity to start, he's a guy that filled up the stat sheet. And, with the Wizards, he was doing the exact same thing. I think he's a guy that you can look at that gives you a solid floor. Troy Brown at 4,600. He's a guy that gives us a little bit of upside here as well. I think that he's a guy that we could possibly look at, in GPPs. And last but not least, I think you could look at Ish Smith. Coming off the bench at 4,400. Yes, he comes in for Shabazz Napier, but they also play him as a little bit of an off guard with Shabazz Napier as well. So he gets his consistent 26 to 28 minutes a game. Coming in at a 4,400 price tag. This is a spot that I definitely think that he can crush value and give you a little bit of upside as a cheaper guy. Coming off the bench, he's probably going to be a little bit lower owned. But just like we talked about Washington not playing very much defense, Phoenix doesn't play very much defense neither, and it's going to be an up and down type game. And I definitely expect this to be a high scoring game. And we got Washington projected at almost 109 points. So somebody's going to score some points. So there definitely got to be a little bit of fantasy relevancy here on the Washington side of things for sure. Moving on, next game we're talking about. So we got two games that are basically the main events of the day. First one, you got Boston going into Boston playing against Milwaukee and Giannis. I think this is going to be a very good game. So let's get started with this game.
Yeah, and I think this is a measuring stick game for Boston, right? I mean, on paper, looking at the teams in the East, I think that obviously the Bucks were the best team in the East before we took the break. But I think that Boston is the best team to challenge that, and I think that this is the kind of the measuring stick. One thing that happened with the pandemic is, and I've mentioned before, is some of these guys had an opportunity to rest for the first times probably in their professional lives and really get healthy, right? Not have to worry about, practice and working out and all this stuff. They were able to just focus on getting healthy, whatever that consisted of, therapy, whatever. And that bodes well for Gordon Hayward. It bodes well for Kemba Walker. It bodes well for Daniel Tice. This is a deep Boston team, and Boston isn't hit very hard with by the pandemic, right? So you look at their starting lineup, and they've got four dudes that can absolutely get after it and play with Milwaukee. I don't think that you put a lot of emphasis in the outcome of this game. I think it's a measuring stick game for Boston warming up here in the bubble. Having said that, Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, Gordon Hayward, Jaylen Brown, all in play. Enes Kanter at 4,200, you have to give him consideration, especially in multi-field entry GPPs, because of the fact he's 4,200. You don't know what you're going to get on one side, but he's showed us year in and year out that the guy can get us doubles off the bench and limited minutes. And the way this roster shapes up in a matchup like this with Milwaukee, where you've got Giannis who can play the center spot, you got Giannis who will play the point guard, he'll play all 5 spots on the floor. Daniel Tice, I don't think he's going to get 35 minutes. He's going to stick to that 24 to 26 minutes he was playing prior to the break when he was healthy. Tice, not a bad play either at 5,000, but I just like Kanter as a pivot off Tice because Tice will start. He's 5,000, etc. But those are the 5 guys I'm looking at.
Yeah, the only other guy I would throw in there, bro, and I'm a fan of his, and they always figure out a way to get him minutes, is Marcus Smart. 5,400 coming off the bench. The thing I like about him, 2 things. There's 2 things about him. Marcus Smart, he'll play the backup point guard. He'll play the backup shooting guard, and they'll also put him as the backup small forward. We got him projected currently at almost 29 minutes still. And another thing too is Kemba Walker is coming back. He had 1 scrimmage game. I think that Kemba Walker is going to kind of be limited a little bit to around 21, 22 minutes. So that's going to open up some of that extra point guard role for Marcus Smart. So he is a guy that I definitely like. He fills up the stat sheet for sure. And you can see, in the last game against Milwaukee, he played 36 minutes and he got us 40 fantasy points. So it definitely gives us some upside at the 5,400 price tag for sure. On the Milwaukee side of things, I mean, it's the same story. It's the same story that we always go with. You go with the Giannis. You go with Chris Middleton. They're best 2 players. I definitely think both of these guys are in play. And they're both very fair price tag. 10.7 for Giannis is very fair. 7,100 for Middleton is pretty good. And then, a couple secondary guys that I think that you can look at. You can look at a Brook Lopez at 5,000. I think he gives us a little bit of upside there. At 5,000, and then outside of that, DiVincenzo, he's gonna be in that starting role with Eric Bledsoe out. At 5,200, I think he's a possible guy we can look at with a little bit of upside. But outside of that, that's really where I'm at. Just because, you got George Hill's going to come in and play 20 minutes. Kyle Korver is going to come in and play 18 to 20 minutes. There's a lot of rotation in the point guard and shooting guard spot, in my opinion, today. I'm just really going to stick with Antetokounmpo, Middleton. I think they're both cash game plays, and then you can look at Brook Lopez on the GPP side of things.
I'm a little bit disappointed in you right now.
Why?
I mean, I'm not that disappointed, but because we're not in full season form like we were when we had to take a break. We're trying to get back into the swing things here. But you did mention Chris Middleton, but you didn't mention our cardinal rule, right? When one of those guys is out, you know what, right? Just load up Chris Middleton tonight. 7,100. Eric Bledsoe is not playing. I mean, Just load up Chris Middleton. Yeah, it's a fair price, and the guy's averaged about 37 fantasy points over the last 5 games against Boston. Chris, just load him up.
Yeah, no, I honestly think you could play Antetokounmpo, Chris Middleton, and basically every single line tonight and feel comfortable with it. You know what I mean? For sure. Moving on, next game we're going to talk about, we got Sacramento playing against San Antonio.
And if you guys have watched this video for a while, this is one of my favorite teams to talk about in Sacramento. I'm really hoping that Sacramento can make a push and get in this thing because I think this is an exciting team. You got to start right off the bat with Bjelica at 4,500 and then talk about Rashawn Holmes at 3,900. I mean, these are too cheap of price tags for both these guys. And then you got De'Aaron Fox. Yeah.
Real quick, bro. I'm not trying to interrupt you. I'm sorry. Hey, I'm just going to make it easy for you. In my opinion, you can play all 5 of Sacramento starters. They're all very fair price. Throw Buddy Hield in there. I think Sacramento is really, really easy.
It's all 6 guys.
They're all fair priced. It's really, really
They're too cheap. They're too cheap. They're all the only guy that I would throw caution at is Bogdanovich because I like Bogdanovich better off the bench, but I get why they're playing. Buddy Hield is a better player off the bench for basketball purposes. For fantasy purposes, Bogdanovich, he can hit the 3, but he does more for you when he's playing the point guard position when Fox is not on the floor. So I would say that it's Fox. Then I'd say it's Bjelica, Fox, Holmes, Hield, Barnes, Bogdanovich in that order for me. Bogdanovich is my least favorite just for the fact that I think there's other shooting guard 2s I'd rather play tonight. I'd rather play Buddy Hield at 55 than Bogdanovich at 53 because I think Buddy Hield can fill fill it up and get hot, where Bogdanovic, he's dependent on all the other stat categories. He's just better off the bench for fantasy purposes, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I like the price tag at 5,300 though. Man, he can definitely crush value on that, for sure. On San Antonio, man, it's ugly for San Antonio. I think that DeMar DeRozan, no Aldridge, they have him priced up a little bit. They know that if they're going to have any chance of competing, it's going to have to be because DeMar DeRozan has a good game. At 8,200, I guess you could look at him as in the GPP format. I'm not really too excited about DeRozan just because he's a little bit more of a score-independent kind of guard. DeJounte Murray, he's a guy at 6,200. If he's going to play around 30 minutes, he's a guy that fills up the stat sheet, and he probably would be one of my more favorite guys on the San Antonio side of things. Outside of him, you could look at a guy like Podol. If he's going to start and play 25 minutes at 4,200, I think he gives you a little bit of upside on that price tag. The last two guys I'll quickly mention, you got Patty Mills at a bare minimum price tag of 3,500. If he's going to be that first guy off the bench and going to play you 28 to 30 minutes, I think that Patty Mills is definitely in play. Same thing with Rudy Gay at 4,700. They're going to need some scoring. They have no true scorers outside of DeMar DeRozan. And at 4,700, if you're going to get a Rudy Gay to play 25 minutes, I think that he gives you some upside because he can score in bunches as well. But San Antonio as a whole, they're not a team that really excites me too much. Moving on, final game of the night, the main event. We got Dallas and Houston. Dallas is favored by 2 in this one. Get us started with the Rockets side of things, bro.
It starts at the top, right? Russell Westbrook and James Harden. That's where it starts. I anticipate that Westbrook will be extremely high owned, given the fact that the other popular point guard in this spot is Luka Doncic. And when you start to talk about lineup construction, Doncic at 10-8, and you've got a guy like who did I just talk about? De'Aaron Fox, he's only 7,500. So, you talk about a point guard too, where you can get really stacked. A point guard, Russell Westbrook, 9,800, De'Aaron Fox, 7,500. I think people will gravitate to Westbrook. So I don't like playing them together, Westbrook and Harden. You can in deep tournaments if you want to. If you think this game is going to go, 230, if it's going to go over the 230, it's a close spread. Both these teams can fill it up. We don't have any idea the minutes with Westbrook, especially since he did have COVID. But so I would caution with that. But I like Westbrook quite a bit. If Westbrook is going to be limited, we're going to get news that Westbrook is going to be limited because he is coming off of the positive COVID test, etc. Then you just streamline the James Harden play and know that there's going to be times in this game when James Harden is just going to have the floor to himself and take over and do what James Harden does. Outside of that, PJ Tucker, I know it's not a popular guy. It's not a popular play. But at $3,900 for PJ Tucker at your center spot, and there's going to be times I think where he'll play the 5 as well. He'll play the 4 as well. This guy fills up the stat sheet and he eats up minutes. He's going to play 32 plus minutes every single night. And at $3,900, you don't need a ton to get value, and allows you to pay up another spot. So in tournaments, I don't mind PJ Tucker at the center spot. And then Robert Covington. This is the ultimate type of game for Robert Covington. He's a 3-and-D guy. That's what he does. And in this atmosphere with these two guards, Harden and Westbrook, he's flourished, and it's allowed him to be a 3-and-D guy. I always love to play. You and I have always said this throughout the years. Whenever Robert Covington is below $6,000, load him up. He's $5,800 a night. He's going to play 33 to 34 minutes. Load up Robert Covington. So this is the highest, I believe, the highest over-under on the slate. You're going to have exposure to it. You're just going to have to get creative in the ways that you do it.
Right. Yep. Hey, I like Dallas. I think it's very simple with Dallas. If you're going to have a PJ Tucker matched up against Porzingis, I think it's an absolute mismatch. Porzingis could absolutely crush in this spot with Houston playing small ball. I think he can get double easily if he's going to be down there banging. I like Porzingis. He looks like he's in really good shape after the first couple scrimmages. And then you got Luka Doncic, fully healthy. He was banged up a little bit this year. 10.8 is not the give me price tag, but we know that Doncic gives us triple-double upside. I'm really liking both of their stars on the Dallas side of things. Outside of them, Tim Hardaway at 5,800. He was really starting to pick it up before the season got suspended. He's playing for a contract. He's their third scorer, after the two main guys. I like him. Kleber coming in at 4,300, going against a Houston team who plays small ball. I think Kleber can have a really good game here. At least give you a little bit of upside on the 4,300 price tag. He's dirt cheap. Seth Curry, if he gets hot, you can possibly look at him. I think that Seth Curry and Delonte Wright, they both basically split minutes right there. I think that you can both look at both of those guys in GPPs. But for me on Dallas, I think the main two guys, it's easy. It's Doncic, Porzingis, and you can throw in some Tim Hardaway as a third scorer. It's going to be a high-scoring game. Tim Hardaway is going to get a ton of shots today in transition, etc., where he excels on. So I definitely think that he's a good play as well. So that's really where we're at for today, man. It's a 6-game slate. Excited just to sit down, relax, watch some basketball today. Me and Jeremy will be back shortly with our MLB core plays as well. MLB going full, is going strong right now, along with basketball. Today's going to be a fun sports day. Make sure to check that out. Check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. And hey, good luck on you guys' contest tonight, all right? Peace out.